Hey, this is Shawnee Maurice from Hihu, where we look back at landmark games from the past and see how they hold up to current industry trends and standards. Today we look back at Tomb Raider Legend, the first reboot from Crystal Dynamics back in 2006. But when compared to modern mechanics, level design and story, how's it hold up 10 years on? I've been playing Tomb Raider since its first release and I'm a big fan of the most recent games. I had it back on the PlayStation 1 and then the later titles on PC as a kid. I never really played much of the Naughty's reboot, so I decided to go back and see what Lara got up to in those years. After the opening cinematic, you were dropped right into the action, with Lara climbing a nice big mountain face and being introduced to the world, the controls mechanics, and the characters, mainly trying to introduce you to Lara and the team that she communicates with. The banter is pretty fucking cheesy and cringy overall, but Tomb Raider has not been one for a decent story up until recently. The story is about raiding tombs, which is no fucking surprise there. Starting off, you were introduced to a friend of yours who was left to die in a tomb because you're a shithouse friend. But when your friend's death becomes questionable, you start investigating while seeking loot. Some baddies come along and play the antagonist card, and the story, as you can tell, is pretty mediocre. Now before I go into the game, I just gotta have a disclaimer out there, I didn't play the full game. Why? Because this game is fucked and it can fuck off to Fucksville. The purpose of these reviews are to see how they hold up today, and to see after 10 years if this game is even worth buying or booting up. I just found this game to be so annoying and I really wanted it to be good. I just found it too frustrating, but there was just one main thing that really made me rage quit. I'm a big sucker for story, and if the story sucks then the gameplay better be good, but if the gameplay sucks, well at least the story must be good. So you're kind of stuck in this kind of limbo of shit. Before I go into the main factor to why I didn't like this game, I'll quickly talk about everything else. The game is a puzzle platform at heart, you're raiding old tombs and solving ancient puzzles. No shit. This element of the game wasn't too bad. I found some of the input response times to be fairly clunky, but that's natural and is miles better than a few other puzzle platformers from back then. The platforming is pretty playable and moderately enjoyable. However, I didn't find the tombs overly challenging or difficult, and maybe as I progressed to the later stages of the game, I might have been stuck a few times. But when I say overly challenging, I could simply solve these puzzles by looking at them, and that's kind of fucked. The combat is easily the weakest part of the game. It auto-locks onto a target and you simply duck in and out of cover shooting them until they fall. This by premise isn't exactly bad, but when the AI is pretty fucking stupid and the fights seem to serve no real challenge, it all becomes pretty trivial. These goons just felt like filler to make the game longer for the player, and I felt like it wasn't needed and it should have been completely different. This game came out post Resident Evil 4 and part of me wishes that the game took elements of the combat with it, but instead the game took quick time events, which were pretty fucking stupid, felt easy, and were kind of insulting in return. QuickTime events have their place in games and I generally don't have a problem with them, but this game just felt like it was there to modernize the franchise, which instead of succeeding, looked like a greedy little knob trying to do too much for itself. But the main problem I have with this game was bad boss-itis. The bosses in this game have to be some of the laziest level design I have seen in a long time. I am unsure how people had the patience to play this game back in 06. It's so shit. I have a big problem with boss fights in circle pits. It's just lazy and it's been done before. I only really experienced a few boss fights and maybe in later game they got better, but I shouldn't have to wade through shit to get to the gold. Psychonauts is a platformer from around the same time with some amazing boss battles in circle pits, and my only gripe with that game was that I wish it sometimes wasn't in a circle pit. Tomb Raider Legend is a puzzle platformer where the combat is rather secondary. If the game wants me to have a big fight at the end of each level, why not make the combat decent, you cunts? Seriously. Not to mention how annoying and how regular your enemies taunt you with the same overused lines. Just listen to this.
Wish you could do that, huh? Fine. We'll do it your way. Bet you wish you could do that, huh? Fine. We'll do it your way. Fine. We'll do it your way.
I don't know, after this one particular boss battle I got annoyed and rage quit, and I felt all future boss fights were going to be the same. And when I say rage quit, I don't mean Dark Souls rage quit. I mean the game is fucking shit. At least the bosses in Dark Souls are interesting. I wasn't really enjoying this game to start off with. I found it too easy and the combat parts unnecessary. I just wanted to play something else. The game is worth around $7 on Steam and can come down pretty generously when on discount. But how's it hold up? Not too well. I'm not even sure how it held up in 06. There are so many other puzzle platformers you could be playing, and if you happen to be a fan of Tomb Raider, try some of the newer titles or even the isometric Lara Croft games. They are really fun when you're playing them with a mate. This is Shawnee Maurice from Hihu. Thanks for watching.